Greetings, it is March 11 and this is vlog number 5. So as you can see, quite a bit of time has passed since our last get together, and yes, I did have the listening party with Jimmy Henshaw. Yes, it was a real treat. The first time I've had a chance to actually listen to the work that these guys have done behind the studio doors. Did not disappoint at all. Great performances, top to bottom, start to finish. There's enough stuff on there. There's 8 songs, 45 minutes worth of material, and could not be happier. We had a lot of fun. It was, in a lot of ways, it was very retro, and we were able to kind of listen to the sound of Johnson City from back in the day. And then in a lot of other ways, it was fresh because this music hadn't been influenced really by any of the music that's happened in the past 30 years. So it was really neat to hear some original material from a different time. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. There's some hard rocking numbers, some groove numbers, some jazz even, and it's really it's a good album. And so right away, Ernie got to mixing these things as quick as he could. In fact, by the time that we had our listening party on January 22nd, he had already done preliminary mixes for 2 of the songs. He did Booberry was the first one, and then he did another one as well. And so those were he already had 2 preliminary mixes right out of the gate, and he just kept at it until really by February 20 we had the preliminary mixes for all 8 songs. And I have to say, Ernie's skill and ability with this is just off the charts. He really has a fantastic ear, but there's still some work to do, and so that's what we're doing. We're currently in Lent, so this is a good time to take a hiatus. Things are very active at the monastery right now, so obviously my brother is busy. Ernie has other commitments. He has some other bands that he's working with and in and so forth, plus he has his normal duties at work, so he's taking some time off. Mino is continuing to do some guitar overdubs, and so we'll be using those when we start phase 2, which will be happening really after we get done with Lent and Easter. Then we'll get into phase 2, which will be basically getting the final mixes for everything. And at that point, we'll have the album finished, hopefully, Lord willing. In the midst of all of this, though, we found out that there are some songs that were staples of the Vibraflux catalog, so to speak, stuff that they played all the time that were Vibraflux regulars that aren't on these recordings. But we know that they did record them. Ernie has a digital audio tape recording of mixes that were done by Richard Ashman, the fellow who recorded these tracks initially. So these were part of these sessions, which means there's a third reel. We know there's a third reel. We don't know where the third reel is. And so my brother had very little recollection of it, but he is been racking his brain, trying his best to remember, 30 years ago what happened. Well, as he's trying to discover this, I get a call or a text from Father Matthew, who said he's planning on going back to Liberty to do some stuff and wanted to know if I wanted to come down there and help clean out the rest of that closet, because there are some things still in there, some family things and some items of my brother's in there. And with this knowledge that there's a third reel somewhere, that would be a place to look. And then I got an email from my brother, and he now believes that 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 third reel is actually the first one that they recorded, the first day, the first couple days that they recorded. In fact, it's the one in the picture of Richard recording that I showed in the first video. That is our missing reel. But this is the building that it's been in for 22 years, and you can see that it is not exactly the most inviting location, to say the least. And from what I've heard about its the deterioration and so forth, don't know how excited I am to go into this place, but nonetheless, if there's a possibility that that reel is in there, then we need to explore that possibility. So, that being the case, let's go. I really hope that this isn't a wild goose chase, but nonetheless, I need an adventure anyway. See ya. So, here we are. This is the house where the reels have been for 22 years. We're going to go in here and see if this reel is still in there, and whatever else we can find in here as well. Anyway, let's check it out. So let's be honest. Maybe the picture that I showed earlier, the real grainy one of the spooky house up in the woods, maybe it was just having a bad day, because this house actually looks pretty neat. They call this house the Cave Springs House, also known as the Adamson House. Apparently it's named after a Dr. Adamson from the late 1800s. The earliest Dr. Adamson I was able to locate was one named Harrison Adamson from about 1850, when the town of Liberty was incorporated. The little spring that leads around the property is called the Adamson Branch, and it's fed by a beautiful little natural spring, a little waterfall that falls into it, and it eventually leads into the Clear Fork Creek. So I didn't see any ghosts or anything at this house, but if there were any ghosts, there were plenty to choose from. Here's the house as it looked back in 1937 or 38 at one of the many Adamson family reunions. And you can see it's got a little bit of age on it at that point too. And I'm not sure where each of these people ended up, but I do know that further down the road is the Adamson family cemetery. So anyway, that kind of gives you an idea of the history of this house. It's currently on the grounds of the Agape community, which was founded back in the late 70s. It was here in 1999 that a young Nathaniel Augenstein, formerly Eric Augenstein, took up residence right next to this very house. The old tobacco barn that housed his RV is still here, as is the old smokehouse, and even an outhouse that was built in the 1970s. In 2000, Nathaniel decided to visit a monastery up in West Virginia, and he never came back. He was happy to leave his old life behind, along with the Vibraflux tapes. And that's where they've sat for over 22 years. So today I have a couple assistants with me, and they're going to help me look through this house. They're both very familiar with this property, and they're the perfect people to have to help dig through just a lot of what's probably just going to be junk. The first thing I do is I put on my bright yellow safety hoodie, mainly because it's cold and I have a bald head. And I make sure that I also put on a face mask because, let's face it, dust in the face for what could be several hours doesn't do well for my lungs. So in we go, and as you can see, the steps are kind of sketch at the bottom. The floor has actually fallen through, and what you're seeing there is a cinder block. That's the kind of the first step to get up into the upstairs, and that's really where we're going. We're going into a closet upstairs. So we get up into the upstairs, and there's 2 rooms on either side of the house, both cluttered with a ton of junk. And right in front of me is a closet with absolutely no light whatsoever. This house has been unlived in for 20 some years, so you can imagine the type of junk that has kind of collected in here. We even found some old animal bones. But I'm on a task. I'm on a mission. My mission is twofold. 1, to retrieve the reel, and 2, to gather up any family personal items that might be of interest to my parents or myself. I've got 2 bags. One is a junk bag and one is a keep bag. So as one of my helpers is working inside of the closet, he's gathering up as much stuff as he can, and he throws it out the door, where I separate them into one bag or the other. So we're making pretty good progress. I'm grabbing tapes and putting them in one side, along with old textbooks and things that aren't going to be used. And then in the other bag, I'm putting personal things, photos, and other items that I find, which aren't much. Although I will say I found a lot of photos. So we did that for a while, and at that point, I think that my helper that was in the closet was regretting his decision not to wear a mask. But anyway, he was ready to take a break, and he was ready to go ahead and let me pick up where he left off. He took everything from the left side of the closet, and he was showing me where to pick up on the right side of the closet. Meanwhile, my other helper, I had him go look for a box of 45s, records that I was hoping to find, because I like to collect things like that. So while he was doing that, I was putting my gloves on, and I was ready to relieve my other assistant. So I put my gloves on, and then this happens. Holy cow. That's a big thing. All right. Achievement unlocked. This is the boss level. We've climbed the stairs. We've gone into the spooky old house. We've gone past all of the creepies and the crawlies, and we've removed the treasure. We've won the game. Well, here, let's just watch that again without any commentary. Holy cow. That's a big thing. All right, Eureka. We have it. This goes in here. So at this point, now I just have to take this and put it in a separate bag. I'm setting this one aside. This is the prize. But I have to continue on, because my second objective was to gather up any photos or any personal items or anything that might be of interest to my parents. So I continue on with that until we've pretty much exhausted everything. Most of the stuff up there obviously was junk. I didn't find any Vibraflux t-shirts or anything like that. And I didn't find anything really of any use that I particularly wanted to bring home, other than the photos and the things that I put into the bag. We finished up. I went out, and thankfully Ray was still there. All in all, I would call it a success. We even went up the road a ways and visited the geographical center of Tennessee. You don't see that every day. And then it was back to Johnson City. Well, that was fun. If you're wondering how I managed to get from Johnson City, Tennessee to Liberty, 250 miles, and back so quick, well, high-speed internet. seriously, here's what we got. You guys saw the video, and you guys saw what we were digging through, and this is the reel. Now, I talk about the third reel and the third reel being missing and all that sort of thing. This is actually the first reel. You'll notice it says here $4.99. That's actually not true. If you look at the original photograph of Richard in the studio, you will see that on those first few days he was recording on a 456. So there you go. This is the 456. This is the original first day or first few days of the recording session. Vibraflux Reel 1. On the very first video that I shot, I had two reels, two audio reels. One said Vibraflux Reel 2, and the other one was unlabeled, and I just assumed that that was the first one. It turns out that that was actually the third one. We now have Vibraflux Reel 1. So, we have a complete set. We've now gone in just within a few 24 hours, gone from a 45-minute long album up to, really, if these songs are about the same length as the other songs, we're looking at about 5 songs at about 5 minutes apiece. You're looking at about another 25 minutes worth of music, so we're up to 70 minutes. We're now officially up to double album range. I know that London Calling, which is probably one of the greatest albums ever recorded, changed my mind, is about 65 minutes long. So it's already longer than that. And so this, I just have to say one thing, and that is I know of no other band, especially in Johnson City, no other band who made a demo tape, a demo reel, 70 minutes long. I mean, every band I know, including mine, you know, we went in, we knocked out 5 songs, we did a 20-minute demo, and we were out. You know, we went in, did our thing, and it came out great. But 70 minutes. And this is all original music, no covers, and it's all good music. In fact, I know of at least 2 songs on this particular reel. One is my favorite Vibraflux song, which is Casualty. One is Jimmy Hinshaw's favorite Vibraflux song, which he continues to play to this day in several of his bands, and his band Jerk, which is 3 a.m. and You and I. So this is exciting now. What do we need to do from here? Obviously, now I'm going to do what I did with the last 2 reels. I'm going to take these and ship them off to Welcome to 1979. We're going to get this digitized. We're going to get this into our digital audio workstation. And hopefully, if Ernie doesn't kill us, he'll be gracious enough to mix these down too. We don't know when this is going to get done. But I will tell you this, is that digitizing, mixing, mastering, all of these things take time and they take money. So at this point, I think probably our next phase is going to be to start up a Kickstarter program. We have a unique enough story, which is the story of these reels that have sat down there by on the, you know, the Cave Springs in that old house, which you've now seen firsthand for 22 years, just waiting for this treatment. So it's a unique enough story. I'm hoping that as we start a Kickstarter program, I'm going to put together a little video about the story, and hopefully a few interesting little rewards for patrons and that sort of thing. That's all forthcoming. Our goal, I think, is still going to be, if we can, to get this thing put together, I don't know, maybe by Christmas. That would be nice. But again, it depends on some help. So that'll be the next thing that we'll talk about. I'm sure will be how to spread the word and to get some assistance on this and to get this thing produced, because everything I've heard so far, man, I mean, this is definitely a unique project. This is well worth it. All the agony that these guys put into the studio and in trying to fund this thing on the front end has turned this into something really special. So anyway, at the risk of running this thing any longer than it already is, that's it for now. And we'll see. I don't know when the next vlog will be. I guess when I have some news to report. But thanks for watching.